I it's me. In the light this time. Um, there were a few things I was gonna say. I'm not gonna be too long with this. Um, you know, I am not a perfect person, and I don't claim to be, nor do I want to be. And I feel that I'll be trying my best on this planet with these creatures. And you know, I feel like we all, to some degree, are just trying to figure life out, whatever that looks like for us. Whether it's, from different spectrums of comfortability due to financial stability, whether you're scraping by paycheck to paycheck trying to make it or you're comfortable. Either way, we are all are just trying to figure this life thing out. Some of us is cruising and some are, you know, you gotta make sure the agents aren't lurking. Um, but my point is that some of us have life experiences that don't have any playbook to reference. And so you're just trying to figure things out a step at a time, a day at a time. And I don't know. I think for me, I did my best. It's like, nah. Okay, in all seriousness, look, I ain't got the answers. And, it's funny that I'm in a library right now, which has kind of been like, you know, a place to be, right? And last time I was at this library, I did a live stream, and it was very insightful. And I stand by a lot of the things that I said in that live stream. And I try to speak on things from my perspective, and it's somewhat of a challenge trying to be mindful of things that's going on without me really knowing, you know? I know that there's a lot happening and it can appear one way on the surface, but it's a lot going on behind the scenes. So it's easy to be enraged or it's easy to be um what's the word? Enamored, I guess. That might be a decent word. Regardless, but if you don't know the full scale of everything that's going on, you know, um, it's easy to have an incorrect assumption of things. And, I just get on my soapbox via live stream and share my perspectives with the creatures of Earth and in hopes that it might actually, I don't know, entertain, enlighten, inspire. I don't know. Um, but, you know, I think there's a lot going on And not only is there a lot going on, there's a lot of like back and forth. There's a lot of, oh, this is good for you. This isn't good for you. This is a good space to be in. This isn't a good space to be in. Oh, this was a good gesture. This is an awful gesture. And I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of the back and forth. I'm tired of the confusion. I'm tired of, you know, the this is to be trusted, this is not to be trusted. And, especially when it's like, I don't know, I guess this really, we're in a day and age that's truly testing discernment. Because, it's like being in a space and time where, you know, people are like, don't go down that road. Um, road X, Y, and Z because I don't know, there's monsters down that road. But vampires are giving you this word. So it's like, are you not the monster too? I don't know. I don't know. And of course, that's not always the case. And like I said, I'm not perfect. No one is. I don't expect people to be, but sometimes, um, it's, and I mean, and that doesn't go for everyone. It's certain spaces where it's like, certain people trying to like warn you of a space being safe, and it's like this ain't even a safe space. So what are we talking about? I'm like, I'll take a word from a space in regards to a safe space being safe when the word is coming from a safe space. And there are times where it does. There are, and I'm not saying this is across the board. There are definitely times where I see people going out on a limb or um, consistently um, putting in good words or just like being a resourceful platform of information and support when it comes to our community. And, and sometimes there's like discrepancies and, issues that come up, and that's normal. But I don't know. Sometimes the thing for me is when it's like it goes from like, okay, is this space safe? Is this not? And, especially when spaces are informative, but not always safe, you know? Because some people can say, oh, why do you give the time of day to this platform or this person or these spaces? Like, for example, like say if you're a musician and you want to perform at a bar, and it's like you don't really know if the bar is really the type of place that can, you know, elevate the type of music that you do, or you might not feel 100% there. And it's like, okay, why go to that space? Maybe it's the only bar available. Maybe this bar happens to feel less unsafe versus another space that's more unsafe. Neither feels safe, but this is just a little less unsafe than this, And when those are the options, kind of like the whole concept of like, what they say about these elections, where it's like picking the lesser of evil. It's like, why are we picking evil in the first place? You know? And I feel like, I don't know, being in a space where that's constantly the options, or at least it feels that way. Um, and then people say, or judge or criticize your decision making when again, there's no playbook to your experience. It's not like there's anyone that I can reference that's gone through the things that I've gone through and can say, this is the way out. This is the way to freedom. This is the way to liberation. This is how you free yourself, you know? Um, you know, and oh yeah, and this is like anger management in the midst of this. Like, this is how you regulate your emotions in the midst of these circumstances. Um, again, using the analogy of like, don't go up the road XYZ, but you're a vampire. So why should I listen to you? You know? And maybe there might be people who aren't vampires, but they mask themselves to be vampires just so the vampires don't attack them. And I get that for survival, and self-preservation. However, for me, that's still a test of discernment for me. And sometimes my rage gets the best of me, you know. And a lot of times it's because I feel like, I don't know, like part of me uses like humor to get through the things that I get through just so it's not rage. It's like either I'm laughing at this or I'm crashing out and I'm taking y'all with me. I'm like, bitch, I'm not the only one that's going to suffer. If I gotta suffer through this, you're gonna suffer too, especially if I didn't start it. Um, I'm trying to be better about that. So I use sense of humor. Um, However, sometimes it infuriates me. Like in some instances, like I can find the humor in it, and then in some instances, like it angers me that people are so casual about what's happening in the world. And I don't know. Maybe that's hypocrisy. Maybe, maybe I might be hypocritical in that way. But that's how I feel a lot of times. Um, and honestly, I feel like mostly I feel that way in regards to like people's moral compass, you know? Because I mean, I don't know. I feel like I can gauge when people mean well, and of course, like, got to do that whole like we got to put on the vampire fangs just so the vampires don't come after us type of thing. And I try to like get that, but at the same time, it's like I try to be compassionate and understanding in regards to people playing that game for their own self-preservation, but it doesn't stop the fact that there's vampires draining my blood, or at least attempting to. And this is an analogy, right? Because that'd be crazy for that to be a real thing in life. And naturally, being an outspoken person, especially as a Black woman, and all the things we already go through, and historically, the things that we've been through in terms of like experimentation in so many different industries, but specifically in health. And I mean, like, we can get to the conversation of like our wombs with, you know, elected officials trying to tell us what to do with our bodies, but then also wanting to benefit off our bodies and then shame us for our bodies. Like it's just too much. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it pisses me off. And I let it be known that it pisses me off, especially when women participate in the foolery. Yeah, that really grinds my gears. However, what can you do? I don't know. I mean, I didn't really have a point to this live stream. I was just sharing thoughts just because I don't know, it feels like a not really a full circle moment, but maybe like a 180, literally, actually. Um, just because I think I'm 180 degrees from where I was at filming my other live stream. So mathematically, I think I'm correct on that. Um, but I mean, I don't got no solution for y'all. I'm just sharing. I guess this is more of an update more than anything, right? Update, not quite upgrade. Yeah. But the weather's nice. It's sunny out and I've been doing a lot of traveling and I'm back in Jersey temporarily. And yeah, I've been I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm constantly dealing with frustrating experiences, although I'm grateful for the positive ones in between. And I'm trying to shift from aggressive rage to back to finding the silver lining. I used to be really good at that, like finding the silver lining in challenging situations and, being in a default space of gratitude and saying, okay, there's a lesson with this challenge. And, you know, this is the positive that I'm getting out of it. And I'm growing in this space and I'm learning here. And I kind of drifted away from that just because I've become extremely tired of being in situations where I have to force myself to see the silver lining rather than just being in spaces that feel good to be in. When you go through that for a period of time of constant um, irritations of life, it's kind of hard to be like the love and light person. And we should come together and, fight for world peace type of person. You know, it's kind of hard, especially when you're dealing with, bullies and people who just don't play fair and spiritual warfare, because that is a real thing, regardless of what your spiritual background is. And just trying to navigate that without clear, direct guidance. And you're trying to read between the lines and hope that the lines that you're reading between are in your favor. Um, it could be a challenging journey. And again, I'm just trying to figure this thing out. Um, but there was a point that I wanted to make in regards to that. Um, yeah, I'm trying to get back to being that person. However, you know, being battle tested, I feel like changes you in a way that is kind of hard to get back to that. When you've actually been through some really tough things where you have to go up against people who don't play fair. And not necessarily in a way where you compromise your morals, but you're willing to defend yourself and value your own self preservation in ways that can be aggressively on the offense against those testing and trying you. And to some, it may be shocking, and some, it's like, oh, you're crossing the line. But it's like, well, how much are you supposed to take? you know, especially in a world like this, if you want to think about it politically, spiritually, in different communities, in different racial backgrounds, like there's so many different spaces to consider with the things that we deal with, even as simple as like grocery shopping, and how somehow, some way, all of those things play a part in your life. And you're just trying to live. But there's political figures that are strategizing tactics based off what we do, and we're just trying to exist. I mean, it's a lot to deal with. And like I said, I ain't perfect and I ain't trying to be, but I do want to be better, especially, I don't know if anybody relates to that in any capacity, whatever it is that you might be going through in life, especially if you're a person who understands the value of spiritual support, like going to church and attempting to do that, but then also being met with being attacked by the church, seeking guidance, seeking support, seeking help. And, you know, some of it is blunt, where they just tell you outright that you're not welcomed. And some of it is sneaky, when they make you feel welcome. And then it's not until it's too late that you realize you got played. And I know I'm not alone in that experience. I know there's many people that had that experience in certain religious spaces that are ideally supposed to be safe. And I don't know, I guess like my point in this is just like highlighting how paradoxical the world can be. The things that are supposed to be safe aren't. And surprisingly, the things that people say aren't safe sometimes can be. I don't know. It's weird. Like I said, there's like, I'm not one here with solutions. I'm just reflecting on insert artist reference, the state of the world. Yeah. But I guess the consolation prize is growth. Like I said, I'm trying to be better about navigating my feelings and emotions. It's kind of hard not to be enraged. And, I just, for one, I do want to have a moment of gratitude on here. I do want to say thank you to the people who get it. I don't know who this creator was. I saw their video like once, and they did a review, or they did a discussion about um Doechii at the Met Gala, and how people were like, "Oh, she's being so rude to her coworkers or whatever," or people working for her because she was like screaming about getting umbrellas. And that girl in the video was just like, "I've cussed people out for less." I mean, like let's be for real. Like, yeah, it's probably a high stress. It's a high stress situation. You're in the public eye and you just want to get it right. And it was her first Met Gala. Um, Not that that's my experience, but you know, yeah, you know, um, but yeah, and I appreciated that video because I'm like, I feel like it's easy for us to judge one another, especially people who go through things that y'all haven't gone through or don't have to experience. And it's easy to say, you should do this like this, you can't do this like this, or, or even just like whatever. But I'm like, until y'all go through this, you know, what are we talking about? However, I'm grateful for the people who are understanding, and I'm also grateful for the people who are critical in ways that genuinely want to see you be better. Even though sometimes it's hard to hear, like, the things that you're saying, there's power in the tongue and you should be more mindful about how you use that. Even though at times it's not what I want to hear, but I know it's what I need to hear. I'm grateful for that message. So thank you. Um, there's certain people that have been helpful to my life and you know, to like my safety and well being. And I do value that. Um and so even though in the moment sometimes I could be spicy and I don't be wanting to hear that, especially when I'm going through what I'm going through, but I can appreciate when people I feel genuinely mean well. And it's just like, look, you need to get it together, especially if you know, praying in the name of Jesus. And I'm working on it. And yeah, so I just want to say thank you. And I'm working on it. Um and and I'm just I said this in another video, but I'll say it again because I feel like you can never be too grateful. I am also grateful for the people who are supportive in ways that, again, um, when there's discourse amongst the support, or like, say if you have a group of people that's telling you, um, again, that analogy, but like they're not vampires though, they're like, okay, maybe you might want to go a different route. And then there's another um, perspective where it's like, actually that route isn't all that bad. I don't know. Sometimes it could be confusing and it's a lot. Again, that's kind of like the first point that I was making at the beginning of this video. Is like, the back and forth and the, do this, don't do this, go here, don't go here. This person is to be trusted. This person isn't to be trusted. I mean, of course, at a point, I just have to go off my own gut and trust myself. And some of that might piss some of y'all off. And sorry, not sorry. And if it turns out to be a mistake, then I have to make that mistake because it's, my life. And I'm still young. I'm still trying to figure this out. And again, like I said, there's no playbook to this experience. Maybe a lot of albums and a lot of references, but not any like I've been through this, so I'm going to write a book about it. And this could be a guideline to what you're experiencing. Nah, I haven't seen that for me. And, I have enough self awareness to recognize when I'm slipping into a dark space. And I try not to get there. But it's not like I willfully walk there, It's usually situations and circumstances that's like tempting me. And, you know, I'm just trying to keep a steady head on my shoulders. I was going to say something immature, but whatever. But you know what? Completely different topic. You know, when Young Miami, I know this is random, but it's going to make sense. When Young Miami was doing her, I guess, interview conversation with Saucy Santana, kind of after the whole like blow up with the Diddy situation, and she had, like, been silent for a while, and then she would, like, finally address some things. You know, she even got criticism for that interview. I actually appreciated that interview because I feel like she was sharing her experience and, just trying to tell her truth in the best way that she can and just, like, how everything affected her, especially with everything that was going on with City Girls at the time. But, something that she said that I resonated with was that, you know, after everything that happened, she just kinda, like, lost a little bit of her personality, and just, like, I guess the spark and just, like, her fun side because I guess with everything that was going on, there was a lot of shame around it, and I I get that. I get that. For me personally, I feel like that around, like, expressions of sensuality, and I've already had conversations about that, and, I mean, there's just been a lot in life, but, it's funny because I remember, like, going through, like, a hard drive of, like, old, like, text messages or whatever with, like, me and my friends, and, like, we were so immature, like, all of us, like, we were immature, we would have, like, the craziest, like, insiders and jokes and stuff like that, and we would make, like, weird, like, references and, like, jokes and stuff like that, and I just kinda, like, got around to, like, joking like that again, not completely, not as, like, vulgar as, like, we used to be back in the day, but, I don't know, I just feel like when you're going through, like, tough times, and especially around, like, criticism and people judging you and, um, judging your behaviors or who you hang out with or whatever. And I guess not necessarily in a way to people please, but I guess it would be to some degree. But just to quiet the noise, you feel like, or maybe I won't say you, I'll say me. I know I felt like I've had to um shift and evolve um just to appease people or just to quiet the noise. But I'm just like, I say in my song Otherwise, how's that there go? Breaking out this prison sentence you placed me in. Now you say, or I say, I'm free because I deserve to be. My world was a privacy free purgatory where I'm constantly afraid to be me. And in that line, constantly afraid to be me is like, you know, out of fear of falling into the, whether it's the expectations of others or the judgment of people or the perception that people try to put on you, you try to run the complete opposite way. So, like, for example, like, say if you were like, I don't know, promiscuous at one point and people judge you for it and attack you for it and criticize you for it, and you try to do the complete opposite. And it's like, well, I mean, in my actual life, that was the case, so it's like, no sex, no sex jokes, don't even bring up, I don't even know what that is, you know, and, you know, that line basically like explains that. And I feel like, I guess, I don't know, it's easier for some people to be more expressive in that way. And, people still judge them for it. Um, and yeah, I gotta get up out of here. But and I don't know, and especially like as a woman, unless like you're an artist and that's like your brand and your whole look and image is like being sexy, then it's like somewhat acceptable. But even they still get judged for it. And, you know, slowly but surely I've been like coming around to a point in my life where I'm allowing myself to be a little bit more expressive in that way. Um, and I don't know, y'all can feel how you want to feel about it. Um, yeah. That's that. I mean, and that could be a whole live stream in itself. There could be a whole breakdown about that. And I'm pretty sure I've already had that conversation. But I don't know. I just feel like things are different in this way. And I mean, I don't know. I guess mainly if we want to talk about music, I know my music isn't really like in that like space of like some, well, there's some songs, but lately I've just been in the space of like motivation and like, I don't know, following your dreams and like fuck these hoes because they're haters. Because that's just been the world that I've been living in. However, I guess creatively, like when it comes to like fashion and stuff like that, that's different. Um, because I don't know, I just feel like I feel more comfortable expressing myself through like fashion and looks than like just outright saying, you know, a bitch want to get her back broke. I mean, I'm not saying that's me what I'm saying, but I'm just saying like it's easier to like convey that visually than just saying that. And, especially again as a woman. And just like again, the trauma of the things. And I only bring that up because like I said, with the Young Miami, I don't know if that's what she was talking about specifically, but you know, I feel like that's what she reminded me of when she said that. Just like with all the like criticism and slander and all that stuff and just her association to Diddy and them dating and all that. And just feeling like she had to like dim her light in any way just to not bring that type of attention to her. And then also like just losing the fun side to her, even if it's not so like serious and intense or like whatever. But just like, like, and the crazy thing is like, that's what a lot of the City Girls music was like. I mean, and I could be wrong because I don't really listen to City Girls like that. I know some of the songs, but they were very like expressive about their sensuality and sexuality and just like partying, have a good time, scamming these guys the way they probably be scamming us. And you know, I don't know. I'm just letting y'all know what's happening in the world. And hopefully we could be in a day and age where autonomy, freedom, self-expression, and I don't know, us having a good time and not having to stress about these weird ass blood sucking, you know, people can get out the way so we can live our lives. That's it. That's the live stream. Have a blessed day.